I know how bad you want it, trust me, I've been there. The strange thing about trading is that the more desperately a man wants success, the more it seems to slip away from him. The harder he tries to force profits, the worse his decisions become. And the calmer and less emotionally attached he is, the better he usually performs. This feels backwards at first because in most areas of life, working harder usually creates better results. In business, school, or fitness, more effort often means more progress. But trading does not work like that. Once a trader already has a strategy and an edge, the real challenge is no longer finding opportunities. The real challenge becomes waiting patiently and not interfering with the process. Trading is less about action and more about restraint. And most people are terrible at restraint. The more emotionally important trading becomes, the more pressure the trader places on every single trade. He stops seeing setups clearly because now every trade feels connected to survival, identity, and self-worth. A raid day no longer feels like part of the game. It feels personal. This is where problems begin. The trader starts forcing setups that are not really there. He revenge trades after losses. He increases size trying to recover faster. He overtrades because he feels behind. He abandons patience because he wants results immediately. The market punishes this behavior over and over again. Many traders slowly become worse after deciding they have to make trading work. The pressure builds month after month. What once felt calm and interesting starts feeling heavy and emotional. Every session becomes stressful because the trader is no longer just executing a strategy. He is trying to solve his financial problems, prove himself, and escape uncertainty all through the next trade. That is far too much emotional weight for one position to carry. This is why losing streaks can feel so crushing even when the trader is actually improving. A trader may finally start following his rules properly for the first time in months, yet still lose 4 trades in a row. The beginner sees this and immediately thinks something is broken. But losses are part of trading. A good process can still produce losing trades. A disciplined trader can still have a bad week. The market does not reward correct behavior instantly every single time. And this is what makes trading psychologically difficult. The brain wants immediate proof that it is doing the right thing. When that proof does not come quickly, emotion starts taking over. The trader begins doubting the strategy, doubting himself, changing rules, forcing trades, trying harder and harder to make it happen. But the harder he forces the process, the more emotional he becomes. And the more emotional he becomes, the worse his decisions get. This is why breaks from trading can sometimes be necessary. Not because the trader is weak. Not because he lacks discipline. But because being emotionally buried in the charts every single day can destroy perspective. A trader who sits staring at charts for 5 or 6 hours daily while depending on trading income often becomes mentally exhausted. Every candle starts feeling important. Every move feels emotional. The nervous system never fully relaxes. Eventually the trader stops reacting to the market objectively and starts reacting emotionally. Stepping away for a while can reset this. The professional understands that mental energy matters just as much as money. If the mind becomes overloaded, decision-making becomes worse. Sometimes the smartest thing a trader can do is temporarily stop trading, clear his head, and come back calmer. This is especially true for people who naturally have active minds. Some personalities are not built to sit quietly all day watching slow price action. Their minds want movement, stimulation, creativity, and progress. When those people sit at charts too long, they often start creating trades simply to relieve boredom or emotional tension. They mistake activity for productivity. But the market does not reward activity. It rewards patience. This is why having other things outside trading matters so much. Other income sources, creative projects, businesses, fitness, relationships, or meaningful goals all help reduce emotional pressure on trading itself. And strangely enough, when trading becomes less emotionally important, performance often improves. Because now the trader can finally breathe. Now he can simply wait for his setup instead of hunting desperately for money. If the setup appears, he takes it. If it does not, he does nothing. There is no panic pushing him toward bad trades. This works the same way in many areas of life. A man desperate for approval often behaves awkwardly because he is trying too hard. But the relaxed man who is not emotionally dependent on the outcome usually comes across naturally. Trading works the same way. The desperate trader becomes tense, fearful, impatient, and emotional. The calm trader becomes clear, patient, and disciplined. This does not mean the professional trader does not care about success. It simply means he no longer suffocates every trade with emotional importance. He understands that trying to force results usually delays them. So instead of obsessing over money every day, he focuses on process. Following the plan. Managing risk. Staying patient. Controlling emotions. Executing properly. Over time, this creates consistency. The mature trader eventually stops entering the market trying to prove himself or save himself financially through one trade. He simply executes his edge over and over while accepting that uncertainty is part of the game. And this emotional stability, more than intelligence or prediction, is what separates the long-term trader from the emotional gambler who keeps blowing himself up. Something weird happens with trading. The more you need it to work, the harder it becomes to trade well. And the less emotional weight you put on it, the easier it is to follow your plan and actually become profitable. When you think about it logically, it makes sense. Trading is different from most ways of making money. With something like YouTube, business, or a normal job, working harder usually creates more results. But trading doesn't really work like that. Once you already have a strategy and an edge, your job becomes waiting. Waiting for your setup. Waiting for confirmation. Waiting for your edge to play out over time. The problem is that when you desperately want to make money from trading, you stop waiting. You start forcing trades. Revenge trading. Oversizing. Overtrading. You rush the process because emotionally you need results right now instead of trusting the process long term. That's something I personally had to learn the hard way after quitting my job to trade full time. At first I thought having more time to trade would automatically make me better. But honestly, the opposite happened. The pressure slowly started building because now trading wasn't just trading anymore. It became survival. It became, this has to work. And when trading becomes something that has to work, every loss feels heavier. Every red day starts affecting your emotions. Even when you're doing the right things, showing up, following the plan, taking only your setups, you can still lose multiple trades in a row. And mentally, that can wear you down fast if trading is the only thing you have going on. That's why I think it's completely okay to take breaks from trading sometimes, especially if you've been stuck in a cycle of rule breaking, revenge trading, tilt, and emotional decision making. Sometimes stepping away for a bit is the healthiest thing you can do because when you're too deep in it emotionally, you stop seeing the bigger picture. You become obsessed with every single trade, every single day, every single outcome. What's helped me recently is focusing on things outside of trading completely. Building other income sources. Working on creative projects. Spending energy on things that don't involve staring at charts for hours trying to force money out of the market. And strangely enough, that actually made trading easier. Because when trading stopped feeling like the only thing holding my life together, I became calmer. I could show up, take my setup, and accept whatever happened without spiraling emotionally after every loss. Takashi talks about this a lot from his own experience too. He says one of the biggest mistakes traders make is attaching their entire identity and emotional state to their P&L. In his words, the moment you feel like you need the market to pay you today, you're already in a dangerous mental state. He explains that most traders are not actually struggling with strategy. They are struggling with pressure. Pressure to make money. Pressure to recover losses. Pressure to prove themselves. Pressure to avoid uncertainty. And that pressure changes the way people behave. According to Takashi, when traders go on tilt, it's usually because they stop focusing on execution and start focusing emotionally on outcomes. They stop asking, "Did I follow my plan?" and start obsessing over, "Why didn't this trade pay me?" That's where bad decisions start. He says one thing that helped him completely stop going on tilt was learning to separate his self-worth from the result of a trade. Instead of judging himself based on green days and red days, he judges himself based on execution. Did I follow my rules? Did I take my setup? Did I respect risk? Did I stay disciplined? If the answer is yes, then he considers it a successful trade even if it lost money. That mindset shift is massive because most traders are conditioned their whole lives to think green equals good. Red equals bad. Winning equals success. Losing equals failure. But the market doesn't work like school or normal jobs. You can do everything right and still lose on a trade. And if your emotional stability depends on being right every day, the market will destroy you mentally. Takashi also points out something most traders don't want to hear. If trading feels emotionally overwhelming, your size is probably too big. When traders are constantly stressed, forcing setups, or panicking during trades, it usually means they are risking more than their nervous system can handle. That's why he pushes things like one trade a day, micros only, fixed rules, and strict limits. Not because it's exciting, but because it forces traders to slow down enough to actually build discipline. And honestly, that's the part most people try to skip. Everybody wants fast money. Nobody wants the boring process of becoming emotionally stable first. But the truth is, consistency usually comes after emotional control, not before it. That's why for certain personalities, treating trading more like a background skill instead of your entire identity can actually help a lot. Having other things going on in your life lowers emotional pressure. It gives your mind space. It helps you stop forcing outcomes. Because when you stop needing every trade to save you, you finally start thinking clearly again. And ironically, that's usually when your trading starts improving.